So, you want to be generative AI developer. Honestly, that's the smartest choice you can make right now. Now that you are watching this video, many companies in Canada and United States are rebranding around generative AI. 2 years ago, when I wanted to learn about generative AI, there was not a clear path for it. I had to find the pieces one by one and put all the things together and see how things works. People keep asking how to actually become a generative AI developer. Not just someone who can write the prompts, someone who can build a real AI system. So in this video, I'm finally breaking it down step by step and showing you exactly what you need to learn to become a real generative AI developer in 2025. Before using any frameworks, you need to learn the domain knowledge. Don't scare. I know it looks complicated, but I promise you, after watching this video, this would be easy for you to follow and learn everything step by step. The first thing and the most important thing that you need to learn is RAG, or Retrieval-Augmented Generation. RAG is how you give models real knowledge, grounding, and accuracy, and it's the heart of AI engineering. And unlike simple tutorials, RAG has multiple methods and each one is useful for different scenarios. Let's break them down. Naive RAG. This is the standard RAG everyone starts with. Chunk, embedding, and retrieving. It's simple, useful, and teaches the foundation of retrieval and context. Graph RAG. Graph RAG structures your knowledge as a graph, nodes, relationship, and meaning. This is perfect for complex domain where relationship matters more than isolated text chunks. The third one is Light RAG. Light RAG is a lightweight, optimized RAG pipeline which is based on Graph RAG. It's designed for speed, cost efficiency, or environment where you cannot afford heavy vector operation. Path RAG is similar to Light RAG, just they changed some algorithms in it. If you're interested to understand how this works, I have a video for you that you can watch, and in that video I break down everything for the RAG system. Hybrid RAG is the combination of naive RAG and Graph RAG. It allows you to combine these two methods and retrieve your data from VectorSoft and Graph RAG together. In this way, you will have more information. And finally, Agentic RAG lets agent itself orchestrate retrieval, refinement, and ranking. It's dynamic, adaptive, and excellent for multi-step reasoning tasks. The question here that you might ask me is that, Hoin, should we learn all these methods together? No, you don't need that. What you need is to first understand the concept of the RAG and then learning naive RAG and Graph RAG. These two methods are something you're going to use a lot. Try to build some project to see how to retrieve data from the vector store, how to ingest data to the vector store or to the graph database. This helps you to have experience and understand deeply how things works. After you learned RAG, there are two things that you need to learn, which probably you heard a lot about them. Prompt engineering was something that we used to use a lot, like around a year ago, before context engineering comes. A lot of people says that prompt engineering is dead because of context engineering, but honestly, it's not dead. You need both of them still together if you want to have a reliable answer from your AI agent. Prompt engineering, if I want to explain it, is the art of structuring instruction so the model reasons in the way that you want. Since 2024, there are many methods for the prompt engineering, like chain of thought, self-consistency, few-shot prompt, self-criticism, react, which is reasoning and acting, and role prompting. The names might be complicated, but it's super easy. For example, role prompting. Probably many of you used it, or at least you saw that you are explaining to the model that you are an expert designer and you have experience in this domain. This is a role prompting. You are giving some roles to the LLM, so LLM gives you the response based on that role. Or for example, few-shot prompting, which I think this is one of the most important things in prompt engineering, all of you should know that and all of you should use it anytime you're defining a system prompt, which is just defining some examples. What is a correct output and what is a wrong output? So LLM knows that based on these examples, how should I generate my final response? Guys, you can't imagine how much few-shot prompting can increase the accuracy. You should try to understand. These days, usually I don't see people write all the system prompts manually. They use Claude. Claude is really good in writing system prompts. This is something that even LangChain approved that, and even they are using this. So, for example, let's see this. I'm gonna ask Claude. And here it is. Look how much is simple. It's defining how agents should think, how it should take the action, observe, and repeat this loop. And you can refine your system prompt, asking that change this part, change that part. And this is a good start point for you to understand the different structure of the prompt engineering. Since I don't want this video to be a long video, I won't go to all of them. But now you know how to use them. So go ahead and try it one by one. The next part, the most important part, after learning RAG, is learning the context engineering. Allows you to manage what you are passing to the context of your LLM. And there are 4 main parts, as you see: isolating, compressing, selecting, and writing. Let's just start with the writing. Writing is not only writing the information that you need to pass to the context window, such as information that you're retrieving through your RAG pipeline. It's also writing the way that you saving short-term memory, saving long-term memory. All of this is something that you should consider when you are working on this part. The second part is selecting. So if writing is like ingesting data, selecting is like retrieving data, same as what we explained in the RAG. But in selecting, we should notice that what types of information we want to retrieve. If this information is redundant, then our LLM gonna hallucinate. So we should be sure that what types of information we are extracting. Compressing allows us to compress the information exists in the context window. For example, after an hour of having conversation with the LLM, there's a huge conversation history there. So we can summarize, extracting the key points of that. And this allows our LLM to have a clean context window at the same time not losing any information. And isolating, the last one, means that every agent that you have in your multi-agent system, the information that you're passing to the context window should be specific for that agent. So if this agent has some memory tools and this agent also has a role that needs some tools and memory, you should not merge the context of these 2 agents together. These 2 should be separated, so agent wouldn't be confused in order to do the task that you are specifying to it. So until now you learned about RAG, prompt engineering, and context engineering. What's the next step in learning generative AI? After you learn these 3, you need to learn about agent memory, because this is also super important when you want to have consistency in the conversation. You want to have different sessions, and still you want that agent remembers everything. There are 3 types of agent memory that you need to learn. Semantic memory, which is the facts about user. Like I say, my name is Homayon. I like that my response output be like this. Always remember that response in a short format. So these are the facts about me, and agent will remember that using the semantic memory. Episodic memory is those few shot prompts that I explained to you. You make them dynamic, and the way that is changing is based on the query. I have a video for all of them, and I explained all of them step by step and how to implement them. I highly suggest you to watch those videos if you want to understand this concept deeply. After learning about agent memory, you need to learn about different protocols. The most important one is MCP, or Model Context Protocol. This allows you to define a server for all the available tools for your agents. So in this way, you can share that server with other agents and allows those agents to use your tools. The second protocol is A2A or agent to agent, and this allows agents to collaborate together. It's useful for building multi-agent systems where each agent has a role. But when you can use this protocol, for example, imagine one of your agents built on LangGraph and the other agent built on like Semantic Kernel framework. You want to connect these two together, and the way that they can talk to each other is just using A2A protocol. The last thing that you need to learn is fine-tuning. After 2 years of working in this area, only 1 or 2 times I needed to fine-tune a model. Usually companies prefer to use APIs of ChatGPT, of Gemini, any other models that are available to develop something fast. You only need to fine-tune a model when it's a specific scenario that other models really cannot solve your problem. Otherwise, you don't need that. In order to fine-tune the model, you need to first of all learn how to use Hugging Face. You need to learn how to define the training set and the test set, how to set the hyperparameter for your model, and use different way of fine-tuning such as LoRa, QLoRa, and so on, and also how to evaluate your model. These are the 4 things that you need to know if you want to be good in fine-tuning. I have a repository for the fine-tuning and I can share it to you guys. You can go and see my codes and understand how to do it by yourself step by step. I also put the state management here. You cannot consider it completely as a domain knowledge. However, when you want to use different frameworks such as LangGraph or Google ADK for developing your agent, you understand how much state management is important. The way that you are keeping the message in the state, the way that you are retrieving them again from a state and passing them to the next agent if you are developing a multi-agent system. That's the place that you see how much state management is important. So I suggest you that after learning all these things that I mentioned, start working on the frameworks and then go back to the state management and learn how to manage the state for that specific framework. So just to recap, if you're beginning, RAG is the first thing you're going to learn, then prompt engineering and context engineering. After that, you go to the agent memory and understand different types of the memory. Then you learn about the protocols and how you can define MCP servers or agent-to-agent protocol. And finally, fine-tuning. Now that we know about all the knowledge in this domain, let's go to the frameworks and see what are the common frameworks in this area. Let's start with my favorite framework, LangGraph. It's a framework that allows you to build multi-step AI workflows and agent systems, and it's super easy because define everything as a graph. So each node can be considered as one of your agents, and the way that you are defining the relationship between the graph is the relationship between the agents. I like LangGraph because it's always updated with recent technology in this area, recent knowledge that is published in the research papers. They implement it super fast. The only problem that exists here is that if you want to use this in the production, they will update it so fast and there's a chance that breaks in the production. But if you are careful about it, if you're keeping your eyes on it, then it wouldn't be a problem. Agent ADK or Agent Development Kit, it's a framework developed by Google and allows you to develop agent with just 2-3 lines, super easy and fast, and it's really good for the production. However, personally, I felt like state management in this framework is way harder than what you were doing in the LangChain because you need to define a specific tool for your agent that each time calls that tool to update the state, and this adds latency. But this is something that you should be worried about it when you reach to this point. Semantic Kernel is a framework that developed by Microsoft. It's good, it's fast. I like that too. And LlamaIndex, it's been a while that I didn't use LlamaIndex, to be honest, but something that I can say it's really good for, it's a RAG-focused library. It's not an agent development library. It's a library you can count on it if you want to develop a RAG pipeline. And this is your path in order to be generative AI developer in 2025. Please watch other videos in the channel. I explained about most of these topics deeply in those videos, so it helps you to understand how to be a good generative AI developer that after like 5-6 months of learning, you can land your first job hopefully in this area. Good luck guys, and see you in the next video.